Truth is first ridiculed, then opposed, and finally seen as self-evident. Arthur Schopenhauer. You stand at the edge of a precipice, looking down into the abyss of your own weakness. The comfortable lies you've told yourself are crumbling. The pleasant fictions about fairness, about deserving love for kindness, about women being gentle creatures who reward your vulnerability with devotion. All of it burns away in the harsh light of reality. This is where your real education begins. You've been living in a dream, believing that life owes you something for your good intentions, that your heart offered freely should be received with gratitude, that your kindness makes you worthy of love. These are the thoughts of a child, not a man. A child expects the world to accommodate his needs. A man learns to accommodate the world's indifference. The pain you feel when she leaves, when she chooses another, when she treats your devotion with contempt, this is not an accident. This is not a bug in the system. This is the system working exactly as it was designed. Nature has no interest in your comfort. Nature has no interest in your happiness. Nature has one interest, the continuation of the species through the selection of the strongest. And you, with your pleading and your neediness and your desperate attempts to prove your worth through kindness alone, have proven yourself weak. But weakness is not permanent. It is a choice you make every day. Every morning you wake up, you choose to be the man who begs for scraps of affection or the man who commands respect through his very presence. You choose to be the man who breaks when tested or the man who uses each test as a hammer to forge himself stronger. You choose to be the victim of circumstances or the architect of your own sovereignty. The woman who wounded you did you a favor, though you cannot see it yet. She showed you the truth about your own character. She revealed what you truly are beneath the mask of niceness you wear to hide from yourself. When that mask was torn away, what remained? A frightened boy desperate for approval or a man capable of standing alone? Most men never get this gift. They live their entire lives in comfortable delusion, never tested, never proven, never forced to confront their own weakness. They die as they lived, soft, untested, unknown even to themselves. But you have been chosen for something harder and more valuable. You have been chosen to become real. This is what it means to walk the path of fire. You will learn that chaos is not your enemy. Chaos is your teacher. Every rejection, every betrayal, every moment when you feel the ground shifting beneath your feet, these are lessons in the most important subject you will ever study, yourself. Who are you when everything is taken away? Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when there is no reward for being good, no recognition for your sacrifice, no guarantee that virtue will be rewarded? This is when you discover what you are made of. The guilt you carry is poison. You feel guilty for wanting more, for being disappointed, for sometimes feeling anger at the unfairness of it all. You've been taught that these feelings make you a bad person. This teaching is a lie designed to keep you weak. Your anger is information. Your disappointment is a compass pointing toward what you truly value. Your desire for more is the engine that will drive you toward becoming more. Stop apologizing for being human. The shame you feel about your needs, your desires, your natural masculine instincts, this shame was planted in you by a culture that benefits from your weakness. A culture that needs you docile, compliant, grateful for whatever scraps you receive. But you were not born to be anyone's emotional servant. You were not born to make yourself small so others can feel big. You were not born to carry other people's burdens while neglecting your own strength. You were born to be dangerous. Not dangerous to the innocent, not cruel or tyrannical, but dangerous to those who would use your kindness against you. Dangerous to those who mistake your gentleness for weakness. Dangerous to the part of yourself that would rather be comfortable than free. This is the danger of a man who has learned to value himself, who has developed the capacity to walk away from anything that diminishes him. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you could become. but not the discipline of deprivation, not the discipline of self-punishment. The discipline of deliberate choice. The discipline of doing what serves your highest self even when it feels uncomfortable. Even when it means disappointing people who have grown accustomed to your weakness. Every day you choose comfort over growth, you betray your future self. Every day you choose the easy path over the right path, you mortgage tomorrow for today's convenience. Every day you choose to remain small to avoid conflict, you steal from the man you could become. This stops now. You have confused power with domination, strength with brutality, leadership with control. True power is not the ability to force others to submit. True power is the ability to command respect without demanding it. True power is the gravitational pull of a man who has become fully himself, who needs nothing from anyone because he has learned to provide everything for himself. This inner gravity is what draws people to you, not your desperation for their approval. This self-possession is what commands respect, not your willingness to sacrifice yourself for others' comfort. This sovereignty is what makes you attractive, not your eagerness to please. You will walk alone, but not in bitterness. Alone because you have learned to enjoy your own company, to find richness in solitude, to be complete without needing another person to fill the gaps in your character. This is not the loneliness of the rejected and wounded. This is the solitude of the strong, the chosen isolation of a man who has learned that the most important relationship he will ever have is with himself. From this place of wholeness, you can offer something real to others. Not neediness disguised as love, not weakness masquerading as kindness, but genuine strength shared freely because you have it in abundance. You can be generous because you are not desperate. You can be kind because you are not afraid. You can be vulnerable because you were not weak. The woman who tested you and found you wanting, she was doing her job. Nature designed women to test men, to push against your boundaries, to see if you will hold your center or collapse under pressure. This is not cruelty. This is the ancient dance of evolution, the process by which the species separates the wheat from the chaff. She pushed because something in her needed to know if you were solid. When you bent, when you broke, when you begged and pleaded and compromised yourself trying to win her back, you gave her the answer she was looking for. Not the answer she wanted, but the answer she needed. You were not ready. You were not strong enough. You were not the man she could build a life with. This is not personal. This is biological. This is the way things are. But you can become the man who passes these tests. You can develop the strength that bends but does not break, the flexibility that adapts without compromising core principles, the resilience that turns every setback into a setup for something greater. You can become the man who understands that a woman's testing is not rejection, it is invitation. An invitation to rise to your highest potential. The responsibility is yours alone. Not your parents' fault for how they raised you. Not society's fault for the messages it sent you. Not women's fault for having standards. Yours. This is the heaviest burden and the greatest freedom. When you accept complete responsibility for your life, your choices, your outcomes, you also claim complete power to change them. Responsibility is not punishment. Responsibility is privilege. It is the privilege of being the author of your own story rather than a character in someone else's. It is the privilege of choosing your response to every situation rather than being at the mercy of circumstances. It is the privilege of building yourself into the man you respect rather than remaining the man you are ashamed of. This is what strength actually looks like. Taking responsibility for things that are not your fault because you have the power to change them. Taking ownership of outcomes that were influenced by factors beyond your control because you refuse to be a victim of circumstances. Taking charge of your development, your character, your destiny because you understand that no one else will do it for you. The world does not owe you anything. It never did. But that is not a limitation, that is liberation. It means your worth is not dependent on external validation. It means your happiness is not contingent on other people's choices. It means your strength is not determined by how others treat you, but by how you choose to respond to their treatment. You have spent too long trying to be good enough for someone else's approval. The question you should be asking is not, how can I make her love me, but how can I become a man I respect? Not, what do I need to do to avoid rejection, but what do I need to do to become rejection-proof? Not, how can I get what I want from others, but how can I become the kind of man who naturally attracts what he wants? This shift in focus changes everything. When your energy is directed inward toward your own development and growth, you stop being needy. When you stop being needy, you become attractive. When you become attractive, you have choices. When you have choices, you have power. When you have power, you can be generous with it. The irony is that the love you chased so desperately when you were weak becomes abundant when you are strong. Not because you deserve it more, but because you no longer need it to feel complete. And there is nothing more attractive than a man who is complete in himself, who chooses to share his life rather than needing someone to fill the holes in it. But first, you must walk through the fire of your own transformation. You must face the parts of yourself you have been avoiding. You must acknowledge the weakness you have been denying. You must take responsibility for the choices you have been blaming on others. You must do the work that no one can do for you. This is not a comfortable process. Growth never is. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. Ease is the enemy of strength. Safety is the enemy of courage. If you want to become more than you are, you must be willing to leave behind the comfort of who you have been. The ancient Stoics understood this principle. They practiced negative visualization, deliberately imagining loss and hardship not out of masochism, but to build resilience. They knew that a man who has never faced adversity is like a blade that has never been tempered, brittle and liable to shatter at the first real test. Your suffering is your tempering. Your pain is your education. Your struggles are forging you into something harder and more valuable than you were before. But you must choose to see it this way. You can experience the same events as victimization or as education. The choice is always yours. The weak man sees himself as a victim of circumstances. The strong man sees circumstances as opportunities to prove his strength. The difference is not in what happens to you, but in how you choose to interpret and respond to what happens to you. Every great man in history has walked this path. Every leader, every innovator, every individual who left their mark on the world first had to leave their mark on themselves. They had to forge themselves in the fire of their own will. They had to become comfortable with discomfort, familiar with uncertainty, at home with the possibility of failure. You think you want certainty, but certainty is the enemy of growth. You think you want comfort, but comfort is the enemy of strength. You think you want ease, but ease is the enemy of meaning. The things you think you want are the very things that would prevent you from becoming who you need to become. This is why your current dissatisfaction is a gift. It is your inner wisdom telling you that you are living below your potential. It is your deepest self refusing to accept mediocrity. It is the part of you that knows you were made for more than settling for scraps of affection and fragments of respect. Listen to that dissatisfaction. Follow it like a compass pointing toward your true north. It will lead you away from everything comfortable and familiar. It will lead you into uncertainty and challenge. It will lead you through darkness and confusion, but it will also lead you home to yourself. The man you are becoming will not recognize the man you are now. He will not understand how you ever accepted so little from life, how you ever settled for scraps of affection, how you ever allowed others to determine your worth. He will look back on this time not with shame, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the pain that forced you to grow, for the rejection that taught you self-reliance, for the loneliness that introduced you to your own strength. This transformation is not optional if you want to live a life of meaning and power. It is not a pleasant journey you can take when convenient. It is a necessity as inevitable as breathing if you want to truly live rather than merely exist. You can postpone it, you can resist it, you can deny it, but you cannot avoid it. Life will continue to present you with opportunities to grow until you either accept the challenge or break under the weight of your own unmet potential. The breaking point comes for every man. The moment when the gap between who you are and who you could be becomes too painful to ignore. The moment when your own mediocrity becomes unbearable. The moment when you realize that the life you are living is not the life you were meant to live. This is your breaking point. This is your opportunity. Most men waste this opportunity. They reach their breaking point and instead of breaking through, they break down. They blame others, they make excuses, they retreat into bitterness or addiction or distraction. They choose the temporary relief of giving up over the permanent satisfaction of breaking through. But you are not most men. If you were, you would not have read this far. Something in you recognizes the truth of these words. Something in you is hungry for more than comfortable mediocrity. Something in you is willing to pay the price for genuine strength and authentic power. That something is your essential self, the part of you that existed before you learned to seek others' approval, before you learned to make yourself small, before you learned to apologize for your own existence. This is the part of you that nature intended to be strong, to be powerful, to be dangerous in the best sense of the word. This essential self has been buried under years of conditioning, years of being told to be nice, to be safe, to be agreeable. But it is still there, waiting for you to remember who you really are. Waiting for you to stop playing small and start playing to win. Waiting for you to stop asking for permission and start taking what is rightfully yours. What is rightfully yours is not the love of any particular woman, not the approval of any particular group, not the recognition of any particular achievement. What is rightfully yours is your own respect for yourself, your own sense of power and purpose, your own capacity to create meaning and value in your life regardless of external circumstances. This is what sovereignty means. Not ruling others, but ruling yourself. Not dominating the external world, but mastering your internal world. Not being at the mercy of circumstances, but being the architect of your response to circumstances. This sovereignty cannot be given to you by others, and it cannot be taken away by others. It can only be claimed by you through your own choices, your own actions, your own willingness to face whatever must be faced in order to become who you were meant to become. The process begins with radical honesty about who you are right now. Not who you pretend to be, not who you wish you were, not who others think you are, but who you actually are when all the masks are stripped away. This honesty is brutal. It will reveal things about yourself that you would rather not see. It will force you to confront your own cowardice, your own weakness, your own complicity in your own dissatisfaction. But this brutal honesty is also liberating, because once you see clearly what is, you can begin to change what is. You cannot fix what you will not acknowledge. You cannot strengthen what you refuse to see as weak. You cannot grow beyond what you are unwilling to admit you have been. This is why your current pain is so valuable. It is forcing you to see clearly. It is stripping away the comfortable illusions that have kept you small and safe and weak. It is presenting you with a choice that you can no longer avoid. Remain as you are and accept the consequences, or change who you are and accept the challenges. Either choice has a price. The price of remaining the same is the gradual erosion of your self-respect, the slow death of your potential, the bitter taste of knowing you could have been more but chose to stay less. The price of changing is uncertainty, discomfort, the loss of others' approval, the difficulty of building new habits and breaking old patterns. But only one of these prices leads to something valuable. The price of remaining the same buys you nothing but familiarity with your own limitations. The price of change buys you the possibility of becoming everything you are capable of becoming. This is your choice, and you cannot unmake it by avoiding it. Not choosing is still a choice. Waiting for circumstances to change is still a choice. Hoping someone else will rescue you from yourself is still a choice. And all of these choices lead to the same destination: the slow decay of unrealized potential. The alternative is to choose the path of fire, to choose growth over comfort, truth over pleasant lies, strength over safety. To choose to become the man who can handle whatever life throws at him because he has learned to handle himself. To choose to become the man who attracts what he wants because he has become attractive. To choose to become the man who creates his own meaning because he has learned that meaning cannot be found, it can only be made. This path is not easy, but it is simple. Every day you choose strength or you choose weakness. Every day you choose growth or you choose stagnation. Every day you choose to move toward who you could become or you choose to remain who you have been. The cumulative effect of these daily choices is the man you become. The question is not whether you are capable of making this transformation. You are. The question is whether you are willing to pay the price. Whether you are willing to give up the comfortable familiarity of your current limitations for the uncertain possibility of your untested potential. The time for comfortable lies is over. The time for pleasant fictions is past. The time for making excuses and blaming circumstances is done. The time for becoming the man you were meant to be is now. Your suffering has prepared you for this moment. Your pain has educated you. Your struggles have strengthened you in ways you do not yet fully understand. You are more ready than you know, stronger than you feel, more capable than you believe. The only thing standing between you and the man you could become is your own willingness to let go of the man you have been. To release your grip on what is familiar and reach for what is possible. To stop protecting yourself from failure and start protecting yourself from mediocrity. This is your invitation to greatness. Not the greatness that seeks recognition from others, but the greatness that comes from recognizing yourself. Not the greatness that dominates others, but the greatness that masters itself. Not the greatness that takes from the world, but the greatness that gives to the world from a position of strength and abundance. The choice is yours. The time is now. The path is clear. All that remains is the first step, and then the next, and then the next, until the man you were meant to be emerges from the ashes of the man you used to be.